Hey guys, welcome back. And today we're going to have a long overdue discussion / review about my Katana Artist Mark II head here. If you're familiar with my channel, you probably know that I've already been using the combo version of the Mark I Artist for quite a long time. And it's a pretty great amp. It's a nice all-in-one, flexible, tons of different sounds, grab and go gigging package. And that's what I bought it for, just something that I could just take one thing and a guitar and maybe a couple of pedals to a show and not sacrifice anything. And for the most part, it satisfied that requirement. The one problem that I had with the combo though is that the enclosure itself doesn't really inspire any confidence with the sound. And by that I mean, it's a very narrow sounding cabinet. It doesn't have a lot of low end and it's kind of stuffy and just weak sounding is kind of the only way I can describe it, especially if you compare it to my Mako amplification 1x12 cabinet, which sounds significantly bigger, much bigger low end, a clearer top end, and a better projection of the sound in general. And the Artist combo enclosure really doesn't have that. And I always kind of wished that I had gotten the head version of the Mark I. And so when I was looking at the Mark II, I think that they added enough new things to the amp to merit the purchase. And for this, of course, went with the head this time around. So I got a pretty good deal on this one. I got it on Reverb. It was a B-stock, and in a kind of a hilarious bit of irony, I actually bought it from the Zounds Reverb store as the B-stock. And I think I ended up paying like $430 for it after taxes and everything shipped. And for that price, I mean, it's been a killer piece of gear. I honestly was kind of shopping around for the 100-watt non-Artist version because they really don't have a whole lot of features missing on the 100-watt version. I think there's a couple of things like you don't get a physical contour control, and you don't get the solo level knob on the 100-watt non-Artist version. But I think you get pretty much everything else. I think that the this cab simulation on the line out, there's a physical switch for the voicing on the Artist that's not there on the 100. But other than that, all of the features that the Artist has are available on the 100. You just have to use the software to get to them. So at a sub $400 price point, I think it's like $370 for the Mark III non-Artist 100-watt head. I think it's just a smoking deal, and the ability to use MIDI on the 100-watt version is kind of the real clutch feature. So unlike when I used the Mark I for the Mark II, I decided to use MIDI to do all of my controls. And the reason for that is primarily the size difference. So here's the GAFC. Look at the size comparison between these two units. This is just hilariously large and kind of like consumes most of your pedal board. And so when I gigged out, I didn't actually have that on my pedal board. It was kind of like down in front of the pedal board, but it was just too wide to really be of much use because I had a couple of other pedals that I wanted to use. And so when I picked up this, this was just a perfect size. This about the size of my OX Stomp, and it does everything that I need it to. So this is the Morningstar, I think it's the FC6 controller, and I've got a video on my channel of me programming this thing to work with the Katana. And so if you have a Katana and you want to downsize to a more compact but more useful foot controller, I highly recommend you check that video out because this thing can kind of do everything. So here's how I have this set up. I've got this button down here changes channels. Now the way that I have it set up is all of one bank are my overdrive sounds, but I really only use one drive sound, and that's the one that I kind of set up to mimic the sound of my Silver Jubilee. Now the other bank, it's all clean channels, and I believe I just copy and pasted the same patch to all four channels. So essentially, no matter which drive patch I'm on, I can always hit this to switch between bank A and bank B, and the result is you go from any of those overdrive sounds to a clean sound. So again, it just works out really well to have two channels. So this switch down here, it toggles chorus. This one toggles the built-in boost. This one over here toggles the solo boost, and this up here toggles the delay, and this one is empty. So the only real drawback to using MIDI on this thing is that every now and then when you change channels, the first button press doesn't register. Like you have to hit it twice, but after that all the buttons register just fine. And since I rarely change from clean to dirty on this amp, it's not really a thing that I have to worry about, but it's something to be aware of if you're programming a MIDI controller to work with the artist. Now I've been using this amp on and off for about a year now, and it's been a really, really solid stage amp. It's been very reliable, very consistent, and having all of the effects and everything built in, it makes it very convenient. And the other thing that I like about it is that unlike a tube amp, you don't need an attenuator on stage or a load box if you want to go DI. And so the way that I run this is I have the switch on the back set to the middle selector on the stereo expander switch. And what that does is it disables the microphone or cabinet emulation that typically is applied to the line out sound. And it allows me to run this into my Universal Audio OX Stomp. And the combination of this and the Stomp just sounds very, very good. I've got a video of this amp with the same patch settings going into the OX Stomp, going DI into the interface, which I'll link in the little notation card up at the top. But if you want to hear what it sounds like running DI with that setup, you can check that video out. So even though Boss have the Mark III Artist out now, I really didn't feel like they brought enough changes to the table for the Mark III to really make me consider getting rid of this and getting the Mark III. I think that if they had included an impulse response loader in the Mark III, I think that would have been the killer feature for me to get me to sell this and jump to that Mark III. But I don't really feel like they added much of anything new or compelling to me with the Mark III that made me feel like I just had to go and get it. So now that you've heard my opinions and thoughts on the amp and how it works on stage with me, how I use it, how I have it set up, and kind of my comparison of it compared to the Mark I combo, I think I can confidently say with this amp, I can get just as good of a sound from this, if not sometimes better, depending on the type of sound I'm after. I can get just as good of a sound from this as I can any other digital unit, including the most expensive modelers and profilers and all that. I think that it's just got a very, very good sound, and the fact that it's an amp means it's very easy to control, very intuitive and all that. But I think that the one thing that I need to emphasize that a lot of times some of the reviewers of these Katanas seem to overlook is that the software that comes with these amps is incredibly powerful and very, very important to getting the best sounds that these amps are capable of delivering. And I think that a lot of the reviewers, they'll complain about this or the other, and a lot of times the complaints are valid, But sometimes the things that they complain about are specifically fixed in the software, or things that you have to use the software to control some of these things. And there's always lots of people in the comments saying, you didn't look at the software, you didn't talk about the software. Well, this is your public service announcement. If you're shopping for one of these, or if you own one of these and you haven't gotten the software yet, please go and get that and plug this thing in and just poke around with everything that the software has. And I mean, I'm talking about, you've got the noise gate, you've got 2 different EQs, you've got one that you can put before the tone stack, another you can put after the tone stack. Those have a massive impact on the sound. You have the contour settings, which is another huge important setting to getting the right sound out of this amp. And you also have different effects parameters that you just can't control in here. Like on these, it's pretty much kind of like an off, on, and a mix if you turn the knob up, and that's it. But if you use the software, you've got all your different types of reverbs and like the decay amount and like all the typical reverb settings. You've got all your delay settings, you've got your pitch shifter settings, you've got all the different chorus settings, phaser, flanger, you name it. You've got all of these different effects in the settings that you can dig in and really fine tune those effects to sound exactly how you want, rather than just kind of like a basic level control that you get on the physical knob of the amp. Another neat thing is that for the power control, by default, you've got, standby, half a watt, 50 watts, and 100 watts on this amp. And in the software, you can actually go in there and tweak the actual output of these. So instead of 100 watts, you could have it like 75 watts. And instead of 50 watts, you could have it 20 watts or something like that. So that's another cool little feature that you have if you really have kind of a specific target volume you want and you don't need a full 100 watts. Or if you're playing with a cabinet that's maybe not rated for 100 watts, but more than, say you've got like a 60 watt speaker and you want to kind of throw like right around 60, 70 watts at it, you can program one of these power positions to have exactly how many wattage you want on that selector position. All right, well, that's going to wrap up this video for the Katana Artist Mark II. Now, if you're ready to pick one up, I'll have an affiliate link to the Zounds website for this amp, or if you want to grab the Mark III, you can do that. I think that both of them are outstanding amps. If you're just jamming at home, though, I really encourage you to take a harder look at the 100 watt non-artist, just because you don't need a solo knob adjustable control for jamming at home. And again, the contour, it's kind of a set it and forget it in my opinion. So they're not crucial features to have physical controls of. And the price point of, the 100 is just really aggressive and very attractive. So I'll have an affiliate link to these things in the video description. And if you're not ready to make your purchase yet, you're still looking around, at least if this video was helpful, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more content on the channel. And I've got some other Katana videos if you do want to check out some more Katana stuff. If you have a Katana and you're wanting to make that jump from the GAFC controller to a MIDI controller, check my video on programming the MIDI settings for the controllers, and I'll have a link to Morningstar's website where you can grab one of these controllers. You don't have to get this one. This is just the one I happen to already own. I think the one thing to be aware of is that the interface that I work with on programming this is specific to the Morningstar, and other different companies will have their own interfaces for their controllers as well. However, the concepts and the program changes and the control changes, those are all the same no matter which controller you use. Those are just kind of inherent to how the artist is, or the Katana is programmed to begin with. So the concepts stay the same, but the way that you poke at it to get it configured, that'll look a little bit different. Okay guys, that's going to wrap this video up. I appreciate you hanging out with me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.